Welcome to the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. We're going to explore ways to sharpen our diagnostic skills, find learning resources, and hear from experts in the automotive field. Hey, what's going on, automotive world? Welcome to another episode of the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. My name is Sean Tipping, and I'll be your host once again for this week's episode. Joining me on the show this week is Matt Fanslow. You know him, you love him. Make sure to check out his podcast, Diagnosing the Aftermarket A to Z. I'll have a link to that in the show notes. This week, we're going to talk about music, specifically music in the shop. We're going to cover all kinds of different things, different genres, time periods, our favorite bands, and mainly music in relationship to shop life, right? Music's a big part of your daily life if you're in a repair shop for most people. And we talk about that a little bit too, is some people enjoy the silence. That's not me. I love having some tunes while I'm working. There's just nothing like having some great music on the radio. You got the shop doors open, you're knocking out some work. It really changes the feeling and the mood of a shop, right? But, this can bring everybody together. It can also be a point of contention if not everybody in the shop agrees on what music should be played. But we're going to discuss all of that and more. We even get into shop injuries because we seem to go off on tangents pretty easily. But this is a fun talk. I think you'll enjoy it. But with that out of the way, let's jump in. Oh, man. Can you believe the smoke outside? Or, I guess smoke haziness outside today around here? It's just crazy.
Yeah, we had a customer come in. They're like, wow, it's really foggy out. And so my service advisor's like, yeah, is it supposed to rain? It doesn't seem that humid. I'm like, dude, that's not fog. That's a gift from Canada.
Yeah.
That is a gift-wrapped gift packaged from Jeff Compton himself. He's out barbecuing. Probably some fish or brown bear or something.
Yeah, I thought
Wolverine.
I smelled some salmon in there, just a hint.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah, that's his way of saying, hey, what's up? But yeah, it's horrible. Respiratory wise hasn't bothered me. Danielle, my wife, just kicking her butt.
Oh, I suppose.
Just absolutely kicking her butt.
They canceled a bunch of kids sports and stuff today from people I was talking to. I mean, it makes sense too. It was very, very noticeable and still right now.
Yeah, it's just a haze. It's a big haze. It looks like my dad was burning tires or something.
So did you get your BMW resolved? Is that back up and running?
It is.
Nice.
It is. It's up and going, and hopefully I don't see it for a while, or if I do, it's for something completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always good to get on the other side of them.
Yeah, especially when it's like a happy ending.
Yeah.
Then it's great. Yeah, I just got lucky, and it got up and going with a little bit of help.
That thing is have some people in your back pocket and to reach out to. I'm like, hey, what do I do here? I'm kind of screwed.
Yes. Yeah. We talk about networking a lot. Yeah. Probably every freaking episode.
Yeah. I think it does come up all the time.
Podcast. Yeah. It comes up, but there is a lot to that. Know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. There is a lot to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the secret sauce most days for me, for sure.
Sometimes you need a little bit of magic and somebody, I know Harry Potter. What?
Oh, there's some Gandalfs out there too.
Sure.
Well, you want to talk about tunes?
Like cartoons?
Yeah, I like cartoons too, but
me too.
music specifically, I thought this would be a pretty interesting conversation. And I think you mentioned, I haven't heard anyone else really touch on this, but especially if you're in a shop, even if you're not, but especially if you're in a shop, it's actually, or definitely can be, a really big part of your day and your daily activities and the mood around the shop. But and here's the other thing, I get to see a lot of different versions of this, going to shop to shop to shop, not just in the same one every day. And the music that's playing in the bays, or lack thereof, it does vary quite a bit depending on the shop that you go into. And so I'm sure everybody's got a perspective or opinion on it. But I mean, like, for me personally, like, I can't work without tunes. If I'm in the shop fixing the car, like, I gotta have something going. I think that was the weirdest thing of all, is somebody who would not want any music and just work in silence. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's weird to work without it. I've tried working with podcasts going, and I can't do that. Otherwise, I have to re-listen to the stupid thing anyways. So I always have music going. Mainly, maybe at one time it was the radio. I guess what I was going to say to begin with was that it can be kind of a unifying thing, where it kind of creates some camaraderie. Everybody's listening to, depending on how the shop's laid out, but kind of the one station they all agree on, or a Spotify or Pandora list of some sort. And, that can be very just almost team building.
Sure.
And then you can have it be like a major point of contention, where it just creates enough stress where the boss or somebody walks out to the radio and unplugs it and tells everyone just to work in silence.
Yep.
Because they're arguing over it. And not that I've ever witnessed that. But every shop I've ever worked in always had some music going.
The first shop that I had a full-time tech position at, we didn't have a radio. That was the rules set by the shop managers. No radio. And I don't know why. I never asked him why, but he would leave at like 2-3 o'clock every day. And I worked the afternoon into evening shift. So we had a radio that was hidden up in the tires, or it's a stereo. And so as soon as he was like down the road, we're cranking 93X up the whole rest of the time. Like, it's weird to work in silence for me. I don't know.
So Minnesotans know 93X is a radio station that plays mainly modern rock, hard rock, heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, man, it's probably a while ago, 25 years ago. Maybe not quite that long ago. It was 93. I think, was it still 93X, or they just call it 93 The Edge?
I think it was just The Edge.
Yeah, 93.7 The Edge. And that was more alternative music. So they didn't, I remember them playing like one Metallica song, Until It Sleeps, when the Load album came out. They would play that. Okay. Otherwise, there's a lot of like Smashing Pumpkins and Pearl Jam and stuff like that.
Sure.
And the first shop I remember was KQRS. They'd always play. Yep. KQ's classic rock. So you don't have to live in Minnesota to know that. All you needed to do was watch Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, with Arnold.
Yep. And then KQRS is featured prominently. I think they got the like insignia right, the logo and everything. That was right. Yep. Everything else is Hollywood.
Yeah, completely fabricated. The actual studios didn't look like that. Yeah.
So that's classic rock.
Yeah, they were a classic rock station, and in the 90s, they were a big deal from what I understand, like nationwide, the morning show.
I think a lot of people listen to the morning show, and it might take me a while to think of the main guy's name.
Tom Bernard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They were hilarious. It's like a large group of them too. It wasn't like one or two.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 6 or 7. And they had various people on there. Like one was an old Vikings player.
Mm-hmm.
And they had one of the guys from it's like CB. Well, okay, it wouldn't be CBS. It'd be like so for us, CBS was Channel 4, but the Minnesota version of that would have been in like KSTP or something like that. And so one of the anchors would be on the morning show every day, like part of the morning show. So you had a whole bunch of different people with a bunch of different angles, and they all got along really well, and they were pretty hilarious. And I guess what that whole buildup had to do was they held off Howard Stern.
Oh, okay.
Because if I remember right, Cicera 99, 2000, 2001, Howard Stern came into Minneapolis. Like he was going into way more markets. This is way before Sirius Radio. And so he was going head to head with KQRS.
Okay.
And they held their own, and he had to get out. He got out.
Wow. I didn't know that.
He couldn't get a market share. That's how well thought of they were in Minnesota. Right or wrong. I mean, I don't know if that speaks well to us or not, but that's the way it was.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that goes, with the shop is like, which morning show are you going to listen to for the people that are there in the morning? And that can be a subject of debate or bring everybody together. Like, we really like this group of guys. They're really funny. The 93X morning show, it kind of was that for me and some of the people I worked with. And a couple of the same guys have been doing it for 25 years, and I still listen to them on a semi-regular basis. But that's a great part of your day too. Just tuning in, getting some laughs from it, and then you're into the workday with the tunes after it. I mean, I guess those morning shows were like the first podcasts they were podcasts before podcasts were a thing. Same idea or similar idea.
Yeah, and not to like jump around with different subject matter all within under the umbrella of this, but that's 93X is probably the first morning show that all of us adored. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
We would absolutely get in trouble by going on test drives with people's cars and turning the radio station to keep up with the morning show.
Yep.
And then not remember to turn them back.
I've never done that.
Yeah. So definitely got in trouble for that. But also just the content. So the first shop I worked at, the customer waiting area was like, there's enough room for like 3 chairs. It's very small. The doors are wafer thin, and you could hear everything going on in the shop. So of course, if there's customers there, we would be kind of alerted, so we would watch our mouths. But you'd have 93X going on, and they'd be doing all their quote unquote bits.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know how like detailed you want to get, but we could talk about some of the bits and
some of the game shows, which I don't think I know they're not allowed to do those for the last few years, but they had it was back or front was the one that we always got in trouble. Like, you guys got to shut that off. I mean, at Firestone they were pretty lenient, but it's basically just porno noises, and the callers had to guess back or front, and that one got us a lot.
Yep. Yeah, and they had a bunch of them just kind of like that.
Yeah.
And you're laughing your tail off.
Yeah.
And yet, customers would be, if they're paying attention, a lot of times they would never pay attention, but if they caught it, all of a sudden you're getting hollered at, "Hey, I thought I told you to keep that crap off." Even though they never said anything of the sort, it was kind of trying to save face. But yeah, that was probably one of the first controversial things that we had on in this shop that would cause a customer to make a comment.
Yeah, for sure. That's the one that would stand out in my mind. Definitely more so than the music itself. I think obviously depends on the person, the situation, but as long as you kept the music at a reasonable level, I never had any customers complain about the actual music in the shop. If it's blaring so loud that, they're bringing a customer back there to show them something and they can't hear anything, obviously that's a issue. But yeah, so I've definitely worked in both shops where we had a lot of disagreements on what people wanted to listen to, and then ones where we were all cool with it. I think a lot of the disagreement ones, it ended up coming down to seniority. Like whoever was there the longest got to listen to what they wanted to while they were there, and then after they left, you can change it to whatever you want. I don't know, what was your experience with that?
I mean, okay, when I worked at a Ford dealer briefly while I was going to my 2-year, kind of my end of my first year, beginning of my second year, in my 2-year tech college. And that was classic rock all the time. There was no changing it. And okay, I feel like I can appreciate a lot of music, but after a while it just got grating. It just grating. And also you could predict when they were going to play whatever song.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to play Desperado 3 times a day, which, I mean, after a while, it's like I wanted to blow my brains out.
Yeah.
And then Catmandu or whatever. God, that's just such an annoying song now. Like even now, years and years and years later, I hear that song and reminisce for about 5 seconds and then shut it off or turn it.
Uh-huh.
After that, the next shop was that indie shop where the shop owner got into a snowmobile accident. And, I'd been there for like 7 years. And it started out, him and his brother started the shop together. Or really, Dan was the owner. He was the one that got in a snowmobile accident. And then his brother, Ron, came with him to get it up and going. And Ron was a terrific R&R tech. Them jerks loved country music.
Ooh.
And there's not much. I would listen to classic music, classical symphony over country music any day. I don't know what it is. I just can't hardly stand it.
Yeah.
And they would listen to it. It was on all the time. It'd drive me insane. So I took to berating it long enough to them allow me to start listening to 93X. And then as Dan moved out of the shop, we didn't really listen to much country anymore. And then that with the other techs that we hired, it became like a way to build up camaraderie or team building. And 93X would be, who's this?
Mm-hmm.
And, the younger guys, they wouldn't be able to get Megadeth or even Metallica, or wouldn't have equated, they got Enter Sandman every time, but had no idea one, something like that. So that was fun. And they'd burn me on like Hoobastank all the time. Just every time. It got to the point where they couldn't burn me anymore because whenever they asked me, I knew it had to be Hoobastank. But that's what you do. Is like, hey, who's this? Or what's the name of this song?
Yep.
Or
what band?
Yep. What band's this?
Yeah.
And that was fun. It was so fun.
A lot of my music knowledge is from that, because I can't say like I was really into music. Like I didn't go to a bunch of concerts, and I'd buy some CDs here and there, but I wasn't like passionate about it. But when it comes to, classic rock from the 70s and 80s, because I worked in so many shops that played KQRS classic rock, like I can do that. And I do, like today, without even thinking about it, I'll be driving in the car with somebody and I'll do the what band thing. And if it's 70s or 80s rock, man, I got not all of them by any means, but the stuff that they play on the radio, like it just like boom, I got it. Only because I was just living in that atmosphere and heard those songs so many times. And yeah, it's funny how certain songs just aggravate you. And sometimes it's because they're overplayed. Sometimes it's just that certain band or that certain song. Ugh, just turn it off. Switch to something else.
Yep.
But I'm right there with you on the country thing. I know a lot of people really do like it, but that's not my style, and I definitely can't work to it. I think there's something to the tone. You know, the actual music is better for at least physical labor than others, and I don't know. I don't think country music is where it's at for that.
I have like a soft spot for the theme to the Dukes of Hazzard, so I think the name of it's the Good Old Boys. And maybe The Gambler by Kenny Rogers.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And then after that, I don't know if I could find a third song I can tolerate.
I mean, like some older Garth Brooks stuff, and I guess more so from the 90s. As it got towards the 2000s, I really lost interest in anything country.
I mean, I like Faith Hill's music videos. Turn the sound off. But
Devil Went Down to Georgia. Everybody likes that one.
I think I know what that is. Isn't that like the Jack Daniels band? Or?
Charlie Daniels band.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
I think it's like that fiddle noise bothers me. There's the twangy vocals just bother me, and there's some instrument that like was okay. I think the Beach Boys used it on like Good Vibrations, and that was okay the way they used it, but the way country music uses it just shuts me down. Like I'm out. Just aggravates me.
I'm sure there's a lot of
all the country music fans are cleaning their rifles right now.
Yeah, exactly. I will say I don't go to a ton of shops. I can think of a couple, but I don't go to a ton of shops where they have a country on a regular basis. It's the majority of places that I go are rock music, although with younger technicians and younger crowds in shops, that's definitely changed. Like there's I think a wider variety of music. I couldn't even tell you what genre it's from, because they've got so many options too. And that was our thing, right? Like radio, that's what you listened to in the early 2000s. Like we didn't have iPods and Spotify and whatever. It's the radio, and you have the 4 stations to pick from. But now, boy, the options seem to be endless as far as music. And a lot of places have that. They'll have the big Bluetooth speaker, and then, I don't know, everybody connects to it throughout the day. What do you guys have set up?
I need to upgrade them for the other guys. They just have kind of like bookshelf stereos right now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the boss thinks that's perfectly fine. I hate it. It's almost tinny. So yeah, I've got like a 135 watt receiver with some definitive technology towers and a separate dedicated, I think it's a rebadged Sherwood 12-inch powered subwoofer that's got like 300 watts. I have to keep it turned way down, but I got it set so it's like nice full range sound. Okay. If I want to, I can just really crank it up, and my shop area is right next to the customer waiting area, so it'll shake stuff inside of the customer waiting area. So I have to keep it down, but I like that full range clean sound. I like to hear the whole, or at least most of the spectrum. But I would like to upgrade the rest of the shops, and because it's so compartmentalized, I could get a few different decent stereo systems. Even picking them up off like Marketplace, I think you could get some decent deals. And the subwoofers make a big difference. Like they don't have to shake anything. They don't have to be pounding loud, but it just really extends the range and can make some fairly weak mid-range tweeter speakers sound really, really good. So that's what's going on. And I was going to say, like, before the streaming and even like the MP3 players, we had kind of gotten, so again, this is at that first shop. It was Preeb's Repair. We got just kind of tired of the radio, period. And this is right around actually well past, but it became fairly common to rip CDs. You burn CDs. So we were burning CDs left and right for stuff to listen to at work. And we kind of went on a binge of comedy albums.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we were bringing in all kinds of stuff. We had, really, you name it. We had Pryor. We had Eddie Murphy. We had Jeff Foxworthy was, I think, pretty big at that time. There's one other guy. Is it Rodney? Not Rodney Dangerfield, although he should have been. If we had any brains at all, we'd have been listening to him too. There's another comedian. I think his name's Rodney. I can't think of his name though.
Yeah, I can't think of him.
I think he had a song called like "Show Them to Me," if you know what I mean.
Okay.
It was almost had it, but anyways, we had that. All those comedy albums, as filthy as they may have been, we never once got in trouble with the boss, with customers, nothing.
Nice.
Until one day we're listening to Bill Cosby.
Of course it'd be him.
This is long before everyone knew he's a freaking monster.
Sure.
But we're listening to Bill Cosby. And I'm pretty sure if you're at all familiar with his work, which, monster aside from just, if we can take a moment to focus purely on his comedy was extremely clean. And he had a bit called like Noah Wright. And I think that's what got her mad.
Okay.
This lady just flipped out on my boss, Dan, because we were listening to this garbage. And it was about Bill Cosby telling the story about Noah building the ark and getting all the animals and arguing with God and stuff. And it's comical. It's funny. But evidently didn't sit well with her. And so all this other stuff, the blue, I don't mean blue collar comedy tour type stuff, but the blue meaning, the foul language and,
sure.
Dirty.
And Mr.
Dirty
Huxtable
words.
gets it for you.
Yeah. God dang it. It was so funny. We had such a good time. Carlin, we cried laughing. Like, we had to shut it off because we couldn't get anything done. But we don't get in trouble for Carlin. We got in trouble for Bill Cosby. Like, go figure.
Yeah,
people.
Right. Do you have a favorite band?
It changes by the day, but I don't know. It's got to be Kill Switch Engage. I think they're just my favorite by far. And then after that, it kind of does a flip-flopping around. Slipknot's in there. I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of Motionless in White. I really like that. Ice Nine Kills.
Okay.
I really like Ice Nine Kills.
Yeah.
I keep like Metallica in the top 5, and I think it's just out of like blind loyalty, but I might have to bump them. I like them. I like the new album. It's probably the best one they've had since. I guess it depends on your taste. I thought the Load album was actually pretty good. It was alternative-y, but I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did. I really liked it. Bleeding Me is a wildly underrated song. And so it's at least as the best they've had since Load. Some people would argue probably And Justice for All.
I like what was the one they came out with a few years ago? I think it was like
Death
2015.
Magnetic?
No, that was, they had some good tunes on that record. The Hardwired one, I liked. I liked a lot of the songs off of there too.
Yeah, Hardwired to Self-Destruct.
Yep. Yeah, I always liked Metallica, and it is like it's an easy one to go to, right? Like, if you're into rock music, like Metallica, you know, they're big time. But it's always been the same thing for me. It is my favorite band would change as time goes on, and it depends what genre, what time period are we talking. Yeah, I'm really into lately listening to Queen. I think it was because I watched that movie that they had out. I don't know, it's like a year and a half ago that I watched it, and ever since then, I'm just like, yeah, like anytime it comes on the radio, or I'll do like a Spotify mix or whatever, and man, they were so good. They were so good. It's crazy to re-listen to stuff that maybe you haven't heard in years or stuff, and you're like, wow, it was so good.
Well, I think he's maybe not my personal favorite vocalist, but Freddie Mercury had range,
something different,
unbelievable range, and then also the way he could command the stage and work a crowd. I'm not sure we've ever seen anyone before or since be able to do it.
Yeah.
Offhand, I can't think of anybody. I know some people might throw in like David Lee Roth. I just don't think it was that level. And David Lee Roth can't sing nearly that well. Was the lead singer to Van Halen off and on, I guess, a couple times. But as a showman, I get what they're saying. Steven Tyler of Aerosmith, I still don't think. You can't put him in that league. I don't know who I would put in that league like that. And I'm not like a huge Queen fan. I think my favorite song of theirs probably is Under Pressure.
That was with David Bowie.
Yeah.
Metallica actually did a cover of one of Queen's songs. Why can't I think of the name of it now? Stone Cold Crazy. Oh my gosh. How did I not remember that?
You know why? Because when I think of that song, I don't think of Queen at all.
Right. You think of Metallica, and so did I. I didn't even know it was a cover because I had heard it Metallica as a teenager, and I was like, this song's awesome. And then one day I heard Queen play it. I'm like, oh, no kidding.
Yeah. There's a lot of songs like that though. I would say like I've been on a bit of a kick of that. So I think by far my favorite genre, like hands down, is like metalcore, which is typically fairly heavy. We'll say like guitars or heavy music with a combination of, screaming or Cookie Monster type vocals with clean.
Okay.
So if you've ever looked into Slipknot, you've ever really looked into Killswitch Engage, they're like the classic. In early Slipknot's probably considered new metal, but most of their stuff I think fits very well with like metalcore. So you have lead singer of Slipknot, Corey Taylor, can do the more guttural Cookie Monster type stuff, and then super clean. And he can sing super clean because he's lead singer of Stone Sour, which is 100% clean.
Mm-hmm.
And but where I was going with that is I like listening to metalcore covers of like pop songs or
yes, yeah.
I don't know. I just absolutely. I don't know. I love it. I love covers of songs, especially like by metalcore, heavy metal bands, ends up being way better.
Yeah.
Than the original by whatever artist.
My ex really liked Taylor Swift, and I would play the like hardcore covers of the Taylor Swift songs because they're way better, but she hated it.
I don't know how that can be. I mean, even my wife, I can't think of any of her songs that she liked, the originals, that when I play the cover, she doesn't like at least the same, if not better. So there's this, I don't even know how to describe him. His name's Leo Morad. I'll probably mess up the last name, but I'm pretty sure it's like Leo Moracchioli. And if you go on YouTube, it's Frog Leap Studios. That's the channel, Frog Leap Studios. And this guy, this is quite a few years ago, as a birthday present to his then wife, covers Poker Face by whatever her name is.
Uh-huh.
And Lady Gaga. And he puts it up on YouTube for grins, and that's her birthday present. Kind of supposed to be a little bit of a joke. And I think within a few months, it's got 1 million hits.
Oh, damn.
So he starts doing one song a week.
Okay.
Where he kind of does a hard rock, heavy metal, metalcore type cover of whatever songs he feels like doing. I don't know that he really even takes submissions from people. And he's had covers. I mean, he covered Africa by Toto, and it's so much better than the original. It's not even funny. He doesn't hit every time. Some of them aren't so great, but there's some of them, man. They are on regular rotation for me.
Okay.
He covers Adele's "Hello." It's so much better than her. It's not. It's so much better.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I haven't done any heavy metal covers lately. I enjoy a good cover though, like a band puts their spin on it. There's been some where maybe it's like, hey, leave that one alone, or you didn't quite do it, but boy, given the right talent, the right band, they put a different spin on it. It's really cool. I don't know, maybe it's just because like there's nostalgia tied in with some new music and
yeah, well, I think it proves that the song itself, maybe not regardless of genre. You could probably say good music is just flat out good music, regardless of genre. It has the bones to be really, really good, and then I'm sure by personal taste can be accentuated or amplified. So, like, Metallica again. They cover Turn the Page.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that is, in my mind, and I'm sure everyone will say it's biased, but I don't think so. It's so much better than the original artist, which is
Bob Seger.
Yeah, Bob Seger. It's so much better.
That was another
They got
song.
quite a few.
That was another song where, had you asked me when I was 17 who sings that song, I'd be like, yeah, it's Metallica. I didn't even know it was a cover until later on. But I
think Whiskey in the Jar is Thin Lizzy, I think.
Okay, I'm not sure on that one. It's
so much better. But there's a lot. I think there's a lot of songs we equate bands with that are covers. I'll never remember the name of the freaking band because it's kind of the beginning of hair metal, and I just detest hair metal.
Oh man, come on!
I detest it. Not as bad as country, but damn. I don't know why. I never could get into Motley Crue. I could never get into Skid Row's Slave to the Grind is okay, but most of their other stuff is terrible. Poison, yuck. Def Leppard,
That's some good tunes.
I just couldn't never get into that. I don't know, man.
How about Journey? Journey is one of my favorites from the 80s.
Steve Perry's just got a freaking voice. How do you not respect it?
How about this Filipino guy who's taking over for him?
I know, right?
I've seen him live 2 times. Talk about working a crowd. Like, he's got so much energy, but he does such a good job of being, Steve Perry's voice. Like, it's crazy. I remember the first time I saw it on TV, I'm like, what's going on there? It sounds exactly like Steve Perry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's really unique. It's like you hear it. Wouldn't matter what he's singing. Wouldn't matter who's behind him.
Right.
That's Steve Perry.
Yep.
Kind of like Chris Cornell, like that voice.
Yeah.
Chris Cornell, if you don't know, is like the lead singer of Soundgarden.
Audio Slave.
Yeah. But like Come On Feel the Noise by
Quiet Riot.
Yep, that was a cover of like a
Really?
folk band.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well,
And that's kind of what they're known for.
was Johnny Cash, didn't he cover Nine Inch Nails
Yes.
song? And everybody thinks it's the other way around, or at least I did.
Yeah, I think quite a few people do. I think it's Trent Reznor is the name of the lead singer and songwriter of Nine Inch Nails, and he wrote Hurt, and it was about him fighting through heroin addiction. And it was a very, very personal song to him. And it was Nine Inch Nails cut a version of it, or the original version from them is good.
Yep.
It's really good. And if you knew a little bit of the background, it hits you harder. It hits you different. Like, it's a very powerful song. But then Rick Rubin is trying to get Johnny Cash. He's just hitting him with all kinds of things to cover. And he shows him Hurt from Nine Inch Nails, and Johnny keeps saying no. But Rick would keep sending it to him. And finally Johnny's like, fine, let's try it. And instead of it, the angle being heroin and heroin addiction, it's death. And you got this old, I don't want to say decrepit, like some big insult to the man, but his health was failing, you know, and you could tell it in his voice versus earlier songs. Frail. He just sounded frail, and it makes the song that much more powerful. And you have Trent Reznor, who is angry about this happening, that this was going to be covered. That's my song, that I was opening up my soul. And then he hears the song and he's like, I think he turned to, I want to say either Rick Rubin or to a significant other, and he's like, it's not my song anymore.
Wow.
It just blew him away.
Yeah.
And as a side note, Seven Dust has a cover of Johnny Cash's version. That's pretty darn good.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Well, so, you ever see the movie The Lost Boys?
I don't think so.
Kiefer Sutherland, Corey Feldman, Corey Haim. So those are some of the big names. The one dude that played like Bill and Bill and Ted's.
Okay.
It's the vampires. And one of the songs is Cry Little Sister. And I don't even know the name of the guy who sings it. But I mean, it's a super popular song. And what is that movie made in? Wow. 1980, what, 5, 6, 7?
Okay.
And very popular, somewhat controversial movie, actually. It was some of the scenes of violence that would now be PG, probably. And that was covered by Marilyn Manson. And it's so much better. I don't like his Sweet Dreams cover is pretty good.
Yeah.
The Eurythmics version's pretty stout. His is different, and I like it. I like them both. I don't know if I think it's better, but his cover of Cry Little Sister is way better.
I haven't heard that one, but yeah, the Sweet Dreams one. He's definitely got his kind of dark twist on it. Hey, it's a good song.
Yeah, I think I like it better, except when he kind of does the more quieter, almost whining Sweet Dreams are made of these. Like, I think that kind of, it's like, I'm not sure I like that direction. But the rest of it, you know, when he's really belting it out, I definitely like that.
Mm-hmm. You got a bunch of CDs from when CDs were a thing?
I used to. No, I used to. I got rid of them.
Okay.
Spotify took over all of that. There's a few CDs I think I wish I would have kept. Just because, oddly enough, that it seems like they had different versions of it. And so, okay, I mean, not to go just like so off the rails with this, but just thinking about the musical journey growing up. My parents listened mainly to like what we would call golden oldies, right?
Mm-hmm.
50s, 60s, maybe early 70s type stuff. Elvis, Beach Boys, Jan and Dean type stuff, Little Richard, The Killer, Jerry Lee Lewis, that type of stuff. The music from like the movie Stand By Me, that type of music. That was a lot. That was what we listened to. That's what they had. And then as I got older in like middle school, I caught the Grammys and I saw DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince.
Okay.
Which would have been Will Smith. And they did this song that I thought it was rap, but it was funny. So I went and bought up a lot of their albums because I thought they were funny. Different funny than like Weird Al.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a bunch of that stuff. And one of the albums where they did Parents Just Don't Understand, that album also had a song called Nightmare on My Street. And that version is much different. Not much, but it's different than the version you can get now on like Spotify and YouTube. It's like they had an issue with whoever put the movie out, Miramax or whoever, some issue where they copyright infringement or whatever. So they had to change something.
Okay.
And I had that original version, and that's like the version can think of and I'm familiar with. And then if I listen to the now normal version, it's kind of like that record scratch thing where it's like, like, I think they screwed up. It's like, no, that's the way it's supposed to be.
I got a big folder of CDs somewhere in my closet. I wonder if I have anything like that where the radio version or whatever Spotify version is altered from what it used to be. Yeah, we would burn CDs quite a bit. That was actually, I think the first CD I had I know what it was. It was Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, which I still think is a fantastic album.
Oh yeah, they were so good.
But my buddy burned it and gave it to me. That was the very first CD that I actually owned, I guess you could say, but it was that, just the white, I don't even remember the brand, but it has like the lines for you to write on the top and just said Linkin Park on it. So yeah.
I'm almost embarrassed to say what the first CD I bought was. Because it would have been middle school. So I had saved my money. I took my birthday money and my Christmas money. So I was probably 11, 12, probably 12. And went down to Radio Shack. And it wasn't a corporate store. This is back when it was an independent. It's called Don's TV, but it was also a Radio Shack. Yeah, so an independently owned, I don't think they would have been technically like it's not a jobber. There's like a name for it when it's independent, but with a franchise tag. And I bought this CD player with 8 times oversampling. It was as big as, not as tall as like a VCR, but the same other dimensions, depth and width is the same. One CD at a time. And then it's like, I don't have any CDs to play. So their selection was very thin. But this is before I don't know what you would call that, but the big shift in taste. So I bought CNC Music Factory.
Okay.
And there's only like 2 songs on it that I would listen to and like. And I don't know. That was like what I was listening to, was that and
sure.
Young MC and my DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. And then sitting in a friend's bedroom, we're listening to his tapes, cassette tapes.
Yep.
And he puts in freaking Metallica 1, and that was the end. that was it. My other CDs never got played again. I was getting my braces done down at Mayo Clinic in Rochester. And so Rochester's a fairly good sized town for us. And went to Best Buy and I blew $200 in CDs. Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, the big four, really. Anthrax,
I still
Motley
have
Crue. I ended up giving that away because I couldn't stand it.
I still have a Slayer t-shirt that I refuse to throw away. It's pretty beat up and grungy and everything, but I wore it to some concerts and stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna hang on to this. So I think it's in my dresser right now, folded up, but yeah.
Yeah, and then it wasn't too much longer. Nirvana. Pearl Jam was okay, but I never bought any of their stuff. Like the alternative stuff was okay. I really liked Smashing Pumpkins, which is odd because typically I don't like the higher pitched vocals.
Yeah.
So like Megadeth, Dave Mustaine's vocals are higher pitched. It's like I like them, but I could never like Megadeth more than Metallica, mainly because Dave Mustaine's vocal range. And I don't know what it is about Smashing Pumpkins that I liked. Billy Corgan's voice is that higher pitch. Should have been a big turnoff, but whatever reason, it worked.
Mm-hmm.
So loaded up on Siamese Dream. And yeah, and I think honestly, it wasn't until that was kind of the stuff I stuck with until YouTube. I found Cradle of Filth.
Okay.
And that's kind of like black metal. But at least a couple of the songs, he mixes up the Cookie Monster with Clean. And I really liked that. So I just started binging stuff like that. And I end up finding, a little bit later, that's Killswitch Engage. Slipknot is just coming out, but it's really new metal-y.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not, there's a couple songs of, I don't listen to them that much. So sometimes
for Slipknot.
No, Slipknot, I can rattle off names and songs, but I'm thinking of another band that's new metal that, I really like break stuff, but it's, a lot of people they have a song Rollin'. I hate it.
Limp Bizkit.
Yeah. So Slipknot would have been kind of along the lines of Limp Bizkit when they first came out, but I
wouldn't.
There's like two songs of Limp Bizkit I like. Yeah. It's hard to put them there, but they kind of were.
Okay.
Early Slipknot, early Limp Bizkit. Limp Bizkit had break stuff though. Break stuff was really good.
Yeah, that's a good tune.
Faith, I kind of liked Faith. That's another cover, right? Covered of George.
Okay.
George, this is really not my genre.
Yeah, me either.
Wasn't he in like Wham? George. He got caught in like a park restroom with guys. George Michael. Yeah, it's George Michael.
Okay.
So George Michael had the song Faith. Limp Bizkit covered it, and it's way better. It's way not my genre. But and then Slipknot starts evolving more to like the metalcore stuff, and then I found Killswitch Engage, and then forget it. It's
I really like the My Curse by Killswitch Engage. I think that's I can't say I've listened to everything that they have out, but that's probably my favorite of their stuff.
Signal Fire is probably my favorite. That's probably the closest I ever got to actually being emotional listening to and watching a music video. So the band Killswitch Engage starts out, lead singer is Jesse Leach. And, over time and whatever, he has severe anxiety and becoming famous, if you will. Terrible effect on mental health. other stuff going on, he drops out of the band. He's got to part ways, got to go home and focus on himself. Killswitch Engage somehow finds Howard Jones. Howard Jones, in my mind, is the best vocalist I've ever heard. I just think he's the best. I don't think it's even close. The range, the ability to, like you're talking about My Curse. So yeah, you got the growls. You also got, or screams, whatever you want to call it. Then the clean End of Heartache. The guy could do about anything. You can go on YouTube and he'll do a small part of Simple Man. And he's with them for quite a while. And then he's got major anxiety issues too. So now he's got to leave the band for health purposes. And about that time, Jesse Leach is in a good place. So he comes back to the band. And there's this idea that these two, Jesse Leach and Howard Jones, don't get along. In fact, they get along quite well. And then Killswitch Engage comes out with Signal Fire. And it starts out with Jesse Leach. And then the guest is Howard Jones. And it's just this awesome, awesome song. And it comes out of the gate harsh. I mean, they're just great. It's fast. There's no buildup. They're hitting hard right out of the gate. And then, they're mixing up the growls along with the screams along with the clean and back and forth.
I think
it's just a wonderful thing to see.
I think the Cookie Monster Rock term is hilarious. That gets me every time I hear that.
I got it. I got that from Chris Jericho.
Oh, okay.
Who is known as a professional wrestler, but he is also the lead singer of a band, Fozzy. Okay. And they're pretty good. They're rock. Probably more old school hard rock. He's quite good. He's quite the showman.
Did you ever see a music video that ruined a song or just was like, oh man, that's such a good song, and they made such a either bad or weird music video, just like, oh, this kind of takes away from it a little bit.
Well, when I think of weird music videos, I think of like Tool.
I don't know if I've
but
ever
they're
seen
weird but awesome. A lot of people are stunned like I like Tool, and I really do, but I'm not part of that culture that they seem to perpetuate.
Mm-hmm.
I went to their concert at Xcel Energy Center, and I had such a splitting headache from, I'm guessing, very, very low quality cannabis.
Oh, okay.
It was terrible. It is terrible. I think the stuff smells horrific anyways. I don't know how people ingest it, but whatever gets you by, man. But it was such a bad headache, but I love that band. Stinkfist is one of my very favorite songs of theirs, along with Schism.
Yeah,
they got a lot of good songs.
I never got too into them. It was kind of that like slower, methodical rock. I just never really grabbed me that much. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, they got some good stuff. It just wasn't for me necessarily.
I don't know. I never had MTV as a kid, so I didn't really watch. I watch more music videos now than I ever did, and I really don't watch them. And it ends up like when I'm showing people songs or whatever, which is almost an oxymoron, right? Showing somebody a song.
Yeah.
But, that's a really good question. I don't know if I can answer it offhand.
There was a song by the Red Hot Chili Peppers that I really, really liked. Soul to Squeeze. It's One of my favorite songs from them. The music video sucks and it's weird. And I probably listened to the song 100+ times before I'd seen the music video. I'm just like, oh, this is it. This is such a good song. What'd you guys do?
I really like those guys too.
Yeah, they got some good stuff. Although I will say a band where it's tough to follow the lyrics, like almost nonsensical, does kind of take away from the song for me. There's
so you don't like Beck.
Yeah. Well, and this band probably isn't nonsensical, but I can't understand it as a Volbeat. I actually saw them in concert one time and it sounds great, but I got no clue what they're singing about. Yep. So it brings it down a little bit for me.
I definitely have a few songs of theirs on my playlist. Yeah, that lead singer's stuff. Got a good voice.
Yeah. But what the heck are you talking about? I think they're Danish or something like that.
It's like Beck Loser, man. They're just
I
don't know. Yeah, I can't think of any. The thing is like there's some React videos that come out with like kids react to Slipknot.
Okay, I've never.
And they're not. That. Yeah, well, they're not listening to the song or the lyrics or the music. They're just focused on the video, and that's dictating what they think of the song, and it's so annoying. It's so annoying. Like, they would have been better off ignoring the video altogether and just listen to the music. And they probably wouldn't have liked it anyways, because I'm guessing none of them are really into heavy music. But I just wanted to go through the screen and choke one of them. It's just, why? Who cares? Ignore the images then. They don't make sense to you. I'm not saying they make sense to me, but I don't care. It's, I guess I don't listen to a band and go, well, they suck because their videos suck. It'd be like going to a movie and it was a great movie, except the music sucked. So.
Yeah. It's just, for me, it was like that particular example, like a song I just really liked and maybe had a different thought of what the video would look like. And then it was just, I don't know, something really weird, but yeah. Bringing this back to cars, would you have different music on depending on what you're doing? Like, I know you don't do a lot of repair work, but let's say you're slamming a motor in something, or you're trying to diagnose a really complex network issue. Do you have different music, or is there a better music depending on what you're doing in the shop?
So usually I just have my playlist going in my area, and it ranges. The lightest stuff is probably a few songs, or not a few, like a song by Puddle of Mud. I might actually have a song from Nickelback. I think Someday. I think I have that on there. And then that's my idea of light. Although some people may hear like a Within Temptation type or Aerosmith, something like that, Guano Apes, and think that's light, maybe. And then it ranges to on the heaviest. I mean, it's hard to get much heavier than Morbid Angel, Cannibal Corpse, Death. So that would be like straight up death metal bands.
Okay.
And if I have something where I just really want to be left alone and I have to think and focus on a car, the music will get heavier and heavier and heavier because no one else likes it.
Gotcha.
So if they come in the shop area, and Cannibal Corpse is blaring, they don't want to be in there anyways. You're right. They just Because it's all they do is just that death metal growl Cookie Monster the whole time. There's no break. There's no clean. No, nobody knows what the words are, and there probably aren't any words. I don't know. They're just probably evoking Satan to come right up through the floor. I don't know. But everybody leaves me alone. And so that's probably what happens is if I'm frustrated or just need to really focus on this car, then I'll set it up to be a lot heavier.
Okay.
And I, I think it does help me because I'm not focused on the lyrics because there aren't any lyrics.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. But otherwise, it's all over the place. You'll hear Metallica, and then you'll hear Westfield Massacre, and then you'll hear Motionless in White, and then you'll hear Apocalyptica.
Well, that's the best thing about all the stuff, streaming options and playlists and whatever nowadays is you can have such a variety and you don't have to hear the same song 10 times a day. Like if you're listening to the radio, it's a massive improvement over what it used to be. But
around Christmas time, I'll play like August Burns Red has a lot of Christmas songs.
that'll get some people going. You get that Christmas music going, man. Some people do not like that.
Well, yeah, but it's not like Christmas music that you would hear normally on the radio. It's metal.
How do you solve a disagreement if people really got a hard stance? Like, I want to listen to rap. Well, I want to listen to country. Like, well, you can both go work somewhere else, but how do you solve the disagreement?
Either if they can't agree on it, if it's got to come down to it, you're gonna have to take turns.
Right.
Listen to your rap in the morning, and then in the afternoon, you have to listen to the country. And luckily, I won't be around for any of it because I could really care less about either. Rap's probably, well, to me, rap is better than country, but I don't really listen to much. I guess technically I have some Eminem and Beastie Boys. That's about it.
Oh, they mix the two together nowadays anyway, so can't even tell.
Yes. Thank God for Rick Rubin, Aerosmith, and Run DMC. Just started it.
What are your thoughts on headphones or earbuds in the shop?
I would hate it. I got one guy that wears earbuds, and I don't know how he does it. I guess I need my ears, to be able to hear what's going on with the car. And granted, like, he's doing alignments, banging out ball joints. He doesn't have to necessarily listen to the car. The other guys, they all wear, or they don't wear anything. That's just the radio. I don't know. If I had to, it's a catch-22, right? Because the headphones, especially in the summer, would be super hot.
Mm-hmm.
And yet earbuds, you got them shoved in your ears. And I know that just creates issues with skin inside your ears.
Definitely.
I don't know. I wouldn't. I guess if you had to go left field on this, I would go for headphones simply because if I'm out running a freaking chainsaw or brush cutter or something like that, I don't have the earplugs. I have the earmuffs on.
Sure.
So, and then I guess, like now I got the Bose noise canceling headphones. I like them for traveling. I personally don't like stuff shoved in my ears.
Yeah, I'm not a Not a huge fan of it. I do like an earbud thing while I'm driving around because my vehicle is super old and doesn't have a Bluetooth connection. But I do that, and it does kind of irritate your ear after a while. Yeah, it's weird because like you could use the headphones almost double as ear protection in a shop, but like noise canceling completely can almost be a safety concern in certain situations. Like you need to be at least a little bit of conscious of things going on around you, right? Like God forbid, but a car starts to fall off the hoist, you might hear the shifting before you see it, that sort of thing. So yeah, anytime that I'm working, I'll do like one earbud, so at least I can hear what people are saying to me or whatever's going on around me.
I don't know if it's nearly as common now that we have like LED lights, but back in the day with the incandescent drop lights and gas tanks, like if somebody's going to light something on fire, they had a drop light under a car while lowering the fuel tank, and the drop light would fall, and it would
pop,
and you need to hear that woof.
Yes. Yeah. No.
You have to hear the woof because that's when you need to go run in and grab an extinguisher or a hose or something.
Yep.
So I agree. Like you really can't have the radios cranked. Maybe for that one song, but then it's got to get back down to something more reasonable.
Yeah. I've had to ask shops to turn down the radio if I'm doing a diagnostic and it involves hearing something.
Yep.
I'm like, hey guys, like I gotta be able to hear what's going on here.
Yep. And yeah, same with that. If you have earphones or headphones and earbuds, like you really don't want them to be noise canceling. I'm sure if you're doing it now and you're used to it, that's like your safe haven. But I foresee repercussions. I like to be able to. Not saying my hearing's all that great, but I kind of need to be able to hear what's going on. I want to hear if somebody hollers from one of the other areas of the shop, or like you said, something falls. Like I want to run and make sure everything's all right.
Yeah. Well, and just as well as I do, communication in general is really important in a shop. And so, having somebody have to like pull their headphones off every time you need to ask them a question or communicate with them, I'm sure that would get old too.
Well, and as we've increased the number of and quality of equipment in the shop, the number of stupid ideas has gone down. So we really don't have anyone trying to just He-Man a transmission or transaxle out of a car. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, it's a manual transmission or a transaxle. God, I can't weigh that much. I don't need the tranny jack. Just I'll hold it here and take that last bolt out. And holy crap, that thing's heavy. Ah!
Yep.
Help!
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got their earbuds in. Go.
I remember a guy at Firestone that worked in the bay next to me, and he always gave me shit for this after the fact, but he was doing an oil change on a car and double gasketed it or didn't put a filter on it or something. So he starts it up and it is just like pouring oil out from underneath, of course. And he doesn't realize at first. He's like standing over the engine bay and I can see it from my point of view. And I was just like, I don't know what I wasn't urgent about it at all. I was just like, hey, Mark. And I just like pointed under the car. And he's like, oh shit. And he runs, he shuts it off. He's like, you could have been a little bit more urgent about that. Cause I was just like, hey, Mark.
Yeah. I mean, I know I've told this story before. I hate being a broken record, but at that first shop, Preves Repair, young, dumb, and guy brings in his Firebird. It's a Ford, and this one had the a distributor on it, and it lacks power or whatever. So I'm gonna check ignition timing. and I can't see the mark on the balancer. So I'm going to mark the balancer, but I got to slide underneath it. So I grab a jack and I jack up the front, and I'm just going to slide on quick and mark the balancer. Customer standing there the whole time. He wants to help. Of course, when I roll under there, the balancer is not in a good position for me to mark it. So I ask him if he can just kind of bump the starter a little bit. Right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been a problem. Except the jack handle was a little bit too much in his way, even though it wasn't anywhere near the damn door. So he's just going to slide it out of the way.
Oh, no.
So he slides it, and it doesn't, like, the car doesn't fall off the jack, but when he's twisting it, he loosens it so it drops on me. Not fast, but the car eases on me. And my boss hears the ugh, as the air is being shoved out of my lungs. And he hears that, and he comes out, and he sees the car. I'm under the car. And I think, like, I could have lifted it up enough to breathe and holler for help or start calling the customer names. But anyways, he runs over, and he's like, you dropped the car on him, and he's jacking it up. And I got this bruise on my sternum. And
jeez.
Then I marked the flywheel, and then I got lectured about jack stands and, being 19 years old, like, I've never seen you use jack stands. So we had to have a shop meeting about jack stands. And
I had a coil spring come out at me one time. That was scary.
That would freak me the hell out.
Yeah. I was like standing right over it. Obviously, I was just doing struts, and we had one of those like mobile strut compressors that rolled around and had these. I never liked it, and then I liked it even less after this because one of them like slipped, and I mean, there's nothing you can do. And luckily, where my hand was kind of between my face and the spring, and so when the spring let loose with a crazy amount of force, my hand came up, and the spring kind of went up above my head, but my tooth, I still got a scar. It's right
Jesus.
there. My tooth went like right into my lip, and the spring went across the shop and hit the wall like on the other side of the shop and dropped down. And my lip was like swollen up like this. I couldn't talk, and it was Firestone, so I stayed and finished my shift. But yeah, that was definitely the scariest thing. A few fires here and there, but that spring was like, oh boy, could be all over.
Yeah, I have not. Luckily, I hope I never do. I've not had any injuries like that. I've coworkers. One of them, we're lifting the engine block out of the back of a pickup truck, like a used block.
Okay.
And it was 3 of us. It should have been no problem. So it was me and 2 coworkers. And the one coworker who later on, I sound like a violent person. I'm really not, but I did want to punch him. We're lifting it out. It's just us 3 holding it. And then all of a sudden, like, he's out. Like, I'm not holding on anymore. So somehow I lucked out. I was on the lighter end, and my other coworker, it starts, he was having a hard time holding it, and the corner of a flange where the bell housing would bolt up to scrapes across his thigh.
Oof.
And it tears his pants, and then we set it down, and we're talking, and all of a sudden he's like lifting his foot up, and it's squishy. And he's like, that thing didn't leak oil on me, did it? No. And dude, that ain't oil. Like, what the fuck? Transmission fluid? No, that's blood, man. So he opened up his pants, and I mean, he got filleted. open. You could see the skin, the fat, and he's not a fat guy by any means, but the layer of fat. And I'm looking at it, and it's not bleeding that bad. And so then he's like, that is cool. And then he spreads it open, and then the blood really starts coming. So then he goes white. And he's kind of on the tanner side. Not Tanner Brandt type, but he's a little, his skin pigmentation is a little on the tan side. And he goes white. So I grab some rags and some duct tape, and I make my own compression bandage.
Jeez.
And I'm like, this is outside of my ability to glue. So I take him to a car. I take him up to the ER, and I'm trying to convince the nurse that he's got gangrene set in. And, oh, man. So, yeah, they stitched him up. That was pretty awesome.
Wow. I had a guy.
Yeah.
He's using the acetylene torch, and he's doing a sway bar link, and he just has in his hand, and we were, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 feet away, kind of see everything happen. He just like puts his hand down where the torch is pointing at his leg, and he's looking up at the thing and realizes it fairly quickly, but not quickly enough to prevent his pants from starting on fire. And so he drops the torch. I would have too at that point. I probably would have just thrown the torch. So he throws the torch. It's still going. And then he like stumbled backwards trying to put out his pants, and he tripped over the hoist in the bay next to him, which there wasn't a car, but the arms were there, and rolls his ankle as he's falling over, tripping over the hoist, which ended up being the worst of the two injuries. Like, he had a burn on his leg. It wasn't nearly as bad as it could have been, new pair of pants, but yeah, he was walking with a limp for like 2 weeks after the fact because he like had a ankle sprain or something from tripping over the hoist. And then we run over and turn the torch off and everything. But yeah, there's a lot of dangerous stuff in the shop if you're not vigilant and aware.
Yeah, and it happens fast.
Yeah, it does. Every time that it goes bad, it's just ho-hum, normal day, and then something's happening.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty good at gluing wounds shut.
Mm-hmm. A little electrical tape.
Nobody will let me actually stitch. Pansies. I've gotten pretty good about taking splinters out, metal splinters out with a scalpel.
For sure. Well, I haven't gotten one.
Knife.
I haven't got one in forever. I kind of forgot about how often that happens when you're working on cars.
I gave up with tweezers. I just use a X-Acto knife, and I've had really, really good luck.
Okay.
Just, I could either kind of, I don't want to say hook it, but there's enough friction with the blade to either pull it out or make light cuts above the splinter to loosen it up and then be able to pull it out.
Okay.
And my microscope for circuit boards actually works out really well.
Yeah, no kidding. That would work really good for that.
Takes a little time to kind of get the coordination down, but I haven't struck a vein yet.
You're going to be performing surgery there in no time.
The other worst injury is I don't know how we get on this tangent, but this customer, she's an older lady. I don't know why, but she brings her own chair. Our chairs are really nice, really clean, really comfortable, but she brings her own folding chair to sit in. And when she paid her bill, she goes to pick up her folding chair and folds it and slices her index finger open.
Oh, no.
Like, it's epic. She does not want to go to the doctor. I'm like, this needs stitches. She's like, I can't go. I'm like, whatever. So I got the bleeding to stop with some really cold water.
Okay.
And then we got an okay first aid kit. I basically went and binge bought a bunch of stuff on Amazon and built this. The cabinet's like one of those old thermostat cabinets you would get.
Mm-hmm.
They would have if you stocked a few thermostats, which nobody does anymore. So this is now stocked with our first aid stuff. So I, warn her that the antiseptic I'm about to spray on there is going to feel great. But she took it well. And I'm like, this should be stitched. It really should be stitched.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I can't go. It's like, all right. So I guess I went for it. I super glued that thing shut. And I'm like, you were never here. I never touched you. I've never met you before in my life.
Yeah.
But I stood there holding it shut with super glue for I think I waited like 5 minutes. I wanted to make sure that did not move. I made her sit there a while.
Uh-huh.
In my work area to make sure she didn't start hemorrhaging something, or finger starts ballooning up like she's got a massive like hematoma or something going on. And it earned the shop 24 donuts. She came back 3 days later. It was healing up nicely.
Nice.
And she brought 2 big boxes of donuts, of which I had 0 donuts because I'm too much like myself and not enough like Sean Tipping.
I like donuts.
Yeah, you could eat them all. I can't. I look at a donut and I put 10 pounds on it. So. Stupid metabolism.
Well, speaking of that, I'm hungry, so probably wrap this up so I get some food in my belly. And thanks for doing round 2 with me in just a few days here.
Anytime.
This is fun. I enjoyed it.
I like shooting the breeze.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you to Matt for joining me, and thank you to everyone out there listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. Keep all the feedback coming about the show. I love it. With that all out of the way, let's get out there and start fixing the world one car at a time.